Hey everyone, hey Corona Del Mar. I'm Debbie Stevens, and as president of the Corona Del Mar Residents Association, I'd like to welcome you to our 2020 election forum. CDMRA was founded to provide a unified voice on issues that impact the quality of life in Corona Del Mar. There's nothing more important to our quality of life than those people that we elect to serve us. I really hate that we can't do this meeting in person. It's always a great time to see everybody, meet the candidates, shake their hands, have a little bite to eat, and enjoy Liz's chocolate chip cookies. Unfortunately, we can't do that this year, so we have to use this format. Regardless, we have a great program. We have received a number of questions from our board, from our members, from our residents, and from our high school students as well. Frankly, there's more than we can use. Some questions are similar to those used in other forums, and some are unique, as we focus on issues that are important to Corona Del Mar. I'm very excited to welcome our moderators tonight, Alex Crawford and Riley Hayes. Many of you know them for their show and Good Morning Newport, which presents political news and happenings in Newport Beach in an entertaining, somewhat unique, and informative way. We know that's what they're going to do tonight, so sit back, relax, and enjoy our 2020 election forum. Alex, Riley, take it away.
Thank you, Debbie. We have a lot of action-packed questions for you all tonight. Some fun questions, some quick questions, and of course, a lot of tough questions. All of these will help you get to know your candidates both professionally and personally. Please stay tuned throughout the entirety of the debate, as there will be surprise moments you definitely don't want to miss.
And let's not forget, after all the questioning is done, we have our grand finale, the ultimate showdown between our Mayor Will O'Neill and #1 community activist Jim Mosier as they debate the pros and cons of Measure Z, the only Newport Beach specific measure on our ballot this year. It's going to be a bloodbath. But first, let's present our candidates. Candidates, please wave as we announce your name.
Starting with District 2, welcome our incumbent, Councilman Brad Avery. Councilman Avery was elected to City Council in 2016 and served on the city's Harbor Commission for 5 years prior to being on council. In fact, Brad has been sailing in Newport Harbor for his entire life. He's a Newport Harbor High School alumni. In Brad's own words, he is asking for another term to help lead our city to recovery.
Nancy Scarborough is challenging Brad Avery in District 2 and is very new to politics, so new that she said she wasn't even planning on running for council until a couple of months ago. Nancy is a 15-year Newport Beach resident and an active member of the local citizen advocate group SPAWN. She said she's running because she's frustrated by a lack of meaningful communication between the residents and the council majority.
Moving over to District 5, Jeff Herdman is the incumbent running for re-election. Herdman has lived in Newport Beach just 8 years shy of his entire life. He was elected to City Council back in 2016. Jeff has been very civically engaged in Newport for the better part of this decade, serving as the president of the Balboa Island Improvement Association and on the 2012 Newport Beach City Charter Revision Committee, among many other things. He says that he believes stability and experience are what is needed right now on City Council.
Challenging Councilman Herdman in District 5 is local restaurateur and small business owner Noah Blom. Noah is a Newport Beach native who believes we need an entrepreneur spirit and business acumen on the City Council. He's used the word excitement to describe his campaign and his feelings about Newport Beach's future. He hopes to bring fresh ideas and new strategies to the council chambers. And last but not least, we have Mayor Will O'Neill. Will does not have anyone running against him, so instead of debating himself on the forum tonight, he will be battling Jim Mosier at the end of the segment. Stay tuned, and with that, let's say goodbye to Debbie and Will. I guess they're already gone, and we'll focus on our 4 other candidates. Thank you, Debbie and Will. We'll catch up with you guys in a bit.
Now, for our first question of the night, fun ones. Candidates will have 15 seconds to answer. Our first question, what's your favorite restaurant or date night place in CDM? Nancy, we'll start with you.
Quiet Woman, absolutely.
All right, what do you like about Quiet Woman?
Right now, I'm really enjoying their outdoor seating. I hope it doesn't ever go away. I love the salad bar, and they, during normal times, they have interesting entertainment on several nights a week.
All right. Noah, what would you say?
Rothschilds, for sure. They have powered through this in a way that no one thought was possible, and I recall 14-year-old Noah dining with his mom every Wednesday at Rothschilds for salmon and Chardonnay. So, you know, the tradition continues.
Was that 14-year-old Noah having the salmon and Chardonnay, or was that your mom having the salmon and Chardonnay?
It's best if I don't answer that question live.
All right, well, I'm dying to hear what Brad has to say.
Well, that's easy for me. That's Bandera, and it's a great spot. The Hillstone Group does a great job running their restaurants. Very dependable, and Julie gets sort of the Tuscan salad, and I get the chicken and ribs. About every time. We're there at least 2-3 times a month.
I'm a rib man myself, and I must say, they do have great ribs.
They do.
All right, Jeff, what would you say?
Bungalow restaurant. And the Jim steak, my wife and I love, and never pass up warm butter cake dessert.
Ooh.
I know where we're going after this. One of these spots, they all sound great. Okay, our second question. What was the last item you checked out of the Newport Beach Public Library? And I will start with you on this one, Brad.
Well, I haven't checked anything out of the public library in probably 40 years. But I do use the Orange Coast College Maritime Library all the time. So that's right there on Coast Highway where I used to work. And if you're interested in books on seamanship and sailing history and naval history, in fact, it's quite the library.
We appreciate the honesty about having not checked anything out in a couple decades. Thank you, Brad. What about you, Nancy? What was the last thing you checked out of the Newport Beach Public Library?
Unfortunately, I'm not much better than Brad. Last thing I checked out were books for my kids in school, which was about 9 years ago. So I have no time for leisure reading lately. So I'm a bad student.
Okay. Well, we'll get you guys out to the library soon enough. Okay. Let's go over to you, Jeff Herdman. What was the last thing you checked out?
Haven't checked out anything in a long time. It's probably been about 5 years. But I do enjoy the library for the art displays and attend a lot of meetings there. So I am at the library a lot, but just not taking advantage of their collection right now.
Okay. And Noah, we'll wrap this question up with you.
Beautiful. I'm probably I'm looking at the mid game of this one at about 11 years. My son's 16 now, so he's probably cringing that I'm even admitting to this. But it was Dr. Seuss for sure about 10 years ago. Theodore Gissel, brilliant man in all ways and great life insight. So a lot of Dr. Seuss in my family's life, and mainly for the son. You know, I wish I was there more.
I think the answer here is we all need to get out to the library as a group maybe sometime after all this.
Yeah. Or maybe this day and age, the library has even more beneficial uses than just checking out books, as Jeff was saying.
Yeah.
All right, our final fun question. Name one positive characteristic or accomplishment of your opponent. Noah, let's start with you.
You know what? Jeff's tenacity. He is constantly gone for it. And, you know, coming from high school principal to politics, I've experienced politics. I thought the restaurant business was the hardest industry in this world, but geez, politics gets bitter and a little angry. So kudos to Jeff on that one, man. You've done it, you fought for it, and you're still fighting. All the best to you. All the best to you, my friend.
Thank you, Noah.
Thank you, sure.
All right, Jeff, what would you say about Noah?
My dad was in the restaurant business for 46 years, and the first 13 years of my working life, I worked for him. It's a tough business. So perseverance is probably the best way to describe Noah. The very little I know about him. I've never been to any of his establishments. I've never actually met him. But persevering in the restaurant business is admirable.
All right. Let's go with you, Brad. What would you say about Nancy?
Well, Nancy's a very friendly person, and she's definitely an advocate for our neighborhood, Newport Heights and Newport and beyond. And she and her husband, Charles, have done a great job, I think, of bringing issues forward to council, of checking in with us. You should never trust government. I agree with that. And so they're asking questions, and it's really good. And they're pushing issues that are important to them. And those issues are generally, I feel, good for the city.
All right. And Nancy, we'll end with you.
Brad is the nicest guy. People ask me all the time, why would you run against him? He is such a nice guy. He's always smiling, and he doesn't ever have a bad word to say about anybody. He's just a great person to be around. Very, very pleasant personality and very, very nice.
All right, lot of positive compliments all around. Kudos on you all. It's good to take a step back and remember that we're all great people, though we may disagree on what we want to do with policy. We are human beings at the end of the day, and I appreciate you guys highlighting that. That concludes our first round. Let's give a quick round of applause for our candidates so far. And thank you, viewers, for clapping by yourselves in your homes. Together, we can pretend we are all in the same room.
All right, let's jump into the juicy stuff. For these next 10 questions, each candidate going to have 30 seconds to answer. And if a clear answer is not presented, we may ask a follow-up for clarification. We may ask a follow-up just because we want to. Let's get right into it. Experience is one of the most important things in a city council candidate. Just ask Scott Piotr, who moved to the city just a month before he ran for council. He was ousted at the next election for being seriously out of touch with the community. My question for you all tonight: what community organizations have you worked with prior to running for city council? And Nancy, I will start with you.
I've been a member of the SPAWN board. I've attended almost every council meeting for years. I've attended most of the aviation meetings with the city and the airport and the county. I've been involved in an organization which is a spin-off from SPAWN about housing, and I've gone to homeless meetings. What else? Just about everything. I mean, planning commission meetings, all of it. I've been 4 nights a week for a couple of years.
Okay, thanks, Nancy. And let's go over to Brad. What community organizations have you been involved with, both prior to being on council and now while on council?
Well, I was on the Harbor Commission for 5 years prior to being on council, so that soaked up a lot of time, and that was a great time. And I've been involved with the Boy Scouts on and off for quite a while. And then while I've been on council in the last couple of years, I'm joined the Sherman Library and Gardens Board of Advocates. I'm also a board member of the Sherman Foundation, which supports the Sherman Gardens and Library. And I've been doing a lot of mentor work through Newport Harbor High School. I think I'm at my 7th mentee, junior from high school. He just called me today about 2 weeks late, but I'll forgive him for that. So thank you.
All right, thanks, Brad. And I did want to respond to a question I saw come up in the chat about what SPAWN is. It is SPON. It's a community group Nancy's a part of, and I'm sure most people are either heard of or been involved with in the city, and it stands for Still Protecting Our Newport, SPON, and it's a citizen advocate group. Definitely recommend checking them out. They're one of many great ones we have in the city.
Yeah, if you enjoy walking through the Back Bay, you can thank them for fighting for that back in the 70s.
Okay, same question, community groups, and we'll start with you, Jeff.
Balboa Island Improvement Association president and member. Little Balboa Island Property Owners Association president and member. By the way, my dad was a founding member of that organization. I served on the city's Tideland Management Committee. I served, as you mentioned, on the Charter Revision Committee. Just before being elected to City Council, I was a member of the Civil Service Board. Got elected to City Council, assumed responsibility for the Aviation Committee. I sit on the Orange County Vector Control Board. I'm a member of the Balboa Island Museum and Historical Society and sat on their board. And I think that's it.
That's plenty. Okay, and let's wrap this question up with you, Noah.
Well, thank you. So I think many know politics is a new foray for myself, but charity is not. And I've been involved in, whether it's Chalk, SOS, the NAC, we've been huge advocates for Oceana, and the list goes on with March of Dimes and charity organizations forever, because politics isn't my necessary foray until this point. Other than that, in the beginning of this year, we got involved in kind of an ad hoc group of restaurants, hoteliers, and country club owners that had a real decisive look at what's going to happen to Newport moving forward. And so it's kind of the impetus that pushed me to the point I'm at now, that involvement's what we need, and I'm willing to dive in there just that much more.
Great experience by all. Thank you, guys.
All right, our next question. Numerous fires have been blazing in California and the western U.S., creating clouds of smoke thicker than my high school hot box sessions. According to the Newport Beach Fire Marshal, one of the biggest wildfire hazards is Buck Gully, which runs through CDM. If elected or re-elected, how would you improve fire mitigation in Buck Gully? Let's go with you, Brad.
Well, yeah, I agree completely. I was hiking Buck Gully with my wife about a month ago, and I was amazed at the amount of vegetation, which of course is fuel. And I think our new fire marshal, relatively new fire marshal, is doing a good job. And you know, the private property needs to be maintained by many of the homeowners that have got a large amount of brush and scrub below their homes. And so we need to keep tabs on that. And we need to actually help some homeowners who are probably not doing the quote unquote yard work they should be doing. So that's the job of the fire marshal to let them know. It's really important. And that's a great question, because it's right, like a day like today, that brush is drying out right now. And so it's a big threat, I believe, to Corona del Mar beyond Buck Gully, of course. Thank you.
All right, and Nancy, what would you have to say?
Undergrowth brush, definitely. Yeah, I know that the city has a program for that. I'm not sure how well it's enforced or how what the penalties are, because I don't live in that area, but it is a big problem, and it needs to be monitored constantly.
Right. And Jeff Herdman, what would you say?
Yeah, coincidentally, I was yesterday, my wife and I were at the upper end of Buck Gully visiting with a constituent about her concerns about the very question that you're asking. And I was really pleased to see the amount of clearing that has gone on and taken place in the last couple of months, as far as keeping the area safe and actually removing the fuel that Brad just mentioned. This is a concern that has been expressed to us as council members. We're on top of it. We're concerned about it as much as the residents are. And it is an area of our city that needs to be continually monitored.
All right, and Noah, what were your comments be?
So I remember growing up, it was 96, 97 fire season, I believe, maybe it was 97, 98, and evacuating my parents' photography studio in Corona del Mar on Poppy because the fires were spreading from Laguna, and we didn't know if we'd be able to break them at the new Newport Coast Road before there were any residents anywhere near there. And as we were screwing things into my parents' cars to get the negatives of family photos and all of those things away, I remember seeing the fear in my parents' face. And fire is one of those things that it takes mitigation and control, not regulation. It takes understanding and a push to help residents understand what it is we're saving rather than what it is we're doing. And I think that the citizens of Newport want this. So let's move this back towards what it is we can do to mitigate our own circumstances, what it is we can do to get the citizens to unite, to get rid of the extra brush around their homes. And I think we have a win-win policy for everyone.
All right, thank you guys.
All right, our next question. It's time for the homeless. In the past, we could just throw them on a bus and ship them to Costa Mesa, but we can't do that anymore. Thanks a lot, Obama. What's your approach for improving the homeless situation in Newport Beach? I'll start with you, Brad.
Well, I guess the word improving, we've done a lot this year, and most recently through Project Room Key, we were able to put a lot of our, over the summer and even before, a lot of our folks that are experiencing homelessness into hotel rooms. And as you know, the point in time count was about 20 at the start of the year. and it grew, and then we actually reduced it back down. And lately, as some people have noticed, we've had a resurgence. So we really need help from the state here, and that's Project Room Key and now Project Home Key, which I won't go into, but is going to be another help. But of course, the big thing we need to do is partner with Costa Mesa on their shelter. And that's, I know we're working on that. It's kind of a poorly held secret at this point, but that's a crucial part of it. And I believe the solution is really regional, at least 2 cities going in together, if not 3, on a shelter that really makes it economically sustainable over time and just brings our resources together for a very tough problem.
Great answer, Brad. Let's go over to you, Nancy. What would you do to mitigate homelessness in our community?
I know that the city is working on a multi-city program, and I agree with that approach. I think that this is a regional problem. I know that our police department has tried to move people back to places where they came from, find their families, get them placement. It's a holistic approach. This needs to be not just a place to park them overnight, but they need help with getting a job, training for a job, getting psychological help, whatever, if they have drug or medical problems. So it needs to be a multi-leveled approach and multi-city.
Awesome. Thanks, Nancy. And let's go over to the Balboa Island people. We'll start with you, Jeff.
Well, first of all, there's no homeless on Balboa Island, Alex.
Shipped them all to Costa Mesa. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
No, we do occasionally have homeless on the island. We got a really interesting email the other day from our assistant city manager, and it was like a diary of homeless interventions in a time capsule in one day. And I believe there were 8 or 9 interventions that were described in this email of our team of people, our designated officer, and then the other 3 individuals from the county that are out there working with the homeless on a daily basis. And it was so interesting to read in terms of the homeless and their willingness to accept shelter and or not accept shelter and help. It was just a real eye-opener for me. But what was encouraging was about it was to be able to see what a day in the life of the people that are working with these homeless people is like, and the experiences that they have. The council, actually, Brad alluded to it. We have a very well-defined plan for dealing with the homeless in this city. It's still confidential, or at least it's supposed to be. So the details are currently being worked out as far as funding, but it is a regional approach. And it's good that we're doing a regional approach, because that's how we're able to take care of funding. Take advantage of funding that's available.
Thanks, Jeff. Your time is up, but
I didn't hear any bells.
I know. I'm my own personal. Paul, was that you dinging over there, Paul?
Oh, I thought it was my phone.
Oh, was that your phone? Well, it definitely was the time, but we made an executive decision. It definitely was the time. We're not cutting you off early, but right. I did not hear the official noise.
I'm teasing there.
But if there's a thought you want to finish, go ahead, Jeff.
No, I'm fine. I got it all out.
Okay, great. And then we'll go over to you, Noah, to wrap up this question.
So in my district, it's an interesting game because we've dealt with the transportation hub off of San Joaquin and MacArthur for a while. It turned into quite the nest for an elongated period of time. And I thought the Irvine Company did an excellent approach where it was not evacuation, but cleaning and mitigation. And I think that the cleanliness of our city is first and foremost. That's what we're driving for. So cleaning schedules in very specific areas leave us the inability to put tents and different things going throughout those areas. So if we're sweeping the sand on the pier on every Tuesday and Thursday, we have the ability to ask people to move for those periods of time, which makes it not a permanent residence, which has been the real issue that we're dealing with in homelessness here. When someone finds a spot that they feel they can occupy indefinitely, and we're looking for other cities to assist us. We're looking for the mitigation from outside sources. That's tough for me. I want our decisions to be made through what we do in our own city. And so sometimes I think it's about not kicking people out, not finding an ill humanitarian decision, but rather the cleanliness of our city is so important. Let's sweep that sand. Let's make sure those sprinklers are going off when they go. And sometimes those spots aren't as hospitable as we wanted them to be, and maybe they'll move on their own accord. And it doesn't sound like the greatest thing for everyone, but that's how we keep Newport beautiful and how we keep Newport great.
All right. All right. And now, for Newport Beach's public enemy number one, it's not Antifa, it's not ISIS, it's, drum roll please, can you guess it? Loud noises. Whether it's from an airplane or a car or even a short-term rental unit, many in Newport really don't like noise. What can be done about loud cars and motorcycles on PCH? Brad, let's go to you.
This is my favorite one. Everyone has said it's gone up recently, and I think that's, has to do with the crisis we've been going through. But it's been gradually ramping up, and it's making life really tough. And it's really costly from a time standpoint and an expense standpoint to deal with it. But we need to, on all levels, from the modified car exhausts that are going through town at 10 o'clock at night or 1 in the morning, to all of Jeff's good work on his committee, we're trying to push with the multiple ways of trying to reduce sound. Obviously, we've had a lot of discussion recently about STLs and the absolute need for them to be good partners in our town. If people are going to make money renting their homes, they need to be great neighbors, even if they're not living there. They've got to figure out a way to actively manage their units, or if they've got an agent doing it, actively manage their units. And so it's basically, we need to spend, I believe, find a little more money in the budget, or a lot more money. For instance, take some of that $4 million that we get from the short-term lodging folks, it's our percentage, and put it toward more code enforcement. We're not here to punish people. We're here to educate, but if need be, what I call the proud nails. If someone insists on behavior that will bring them a ticket, we should give it to them. That's my attitude on this. And
Right.
So that's it. Thanks.
Strong stance. Thank you, Brad. And Nancy, what would you say?
Enforcement on all of those levels, as far as traffic, noisy vehicles, speeding vehicles, STLs, construction noise, which I have on both sides of me right now. Every one of those needs enforcement, and it doesn't have to be in the form of a ticket. It might be education. It might be sometimes traffic could just be the presence of officers patrolling. We live on a very busy corner. I see kids riding their bike through that intersection, texting on their cell phones. That's not a noise issue, but I think that enforcement in general, we really need to work on all levels.
All right, let's go over to Noah.
So, quite the three-pronged question from you gentlemen right there. Airports, short-term rentals, and traffic in one fell swoop. Love it. So traffic, let's get more electric, all right? Let's just get that way, all right? Then we'll quiet everything down. PCH will be a happier union, and we can all be excited. But I think the real issue we have is bad neighbors and the airport, okay? Those things are gonna be the driving factors that we look at. And even with the bad neighbor side, let's build up better neighbors. Let's make Newport a better place to rent it. Let's make it the one that is the luxury destination to come to for those short-term rentals. That's the goal there. For the airports, let's hammer them. Let's get excited. Let's get back to the table, and let's bring negotiation back to Newport. We don't have to be afraid of confronting everyone or anyone. We are Newport Beach. We are a bastion of beauty. Let's make sure that the airlines know who we are and make sure they quiet down for us, not the other way around.
All right, and Jeff, final words.
Okay, you have to separate the airport from the other two. You can't even compare them. Traffic noise and disturbances from short-term lodging. Brad and Nancy have hit it on the head. The issue is enforcement. And I have said, if I am reelected, enforcement and increasing enforcement, increasing staffing for enforcement, it's really the root of every single problem we have in our city when it comes to regulations and code enforcement. It's just not enough enforcement. So that's a priority of mine. That's a real priority of mine. As far as the airport is concerned, we're to the point now where our subcommittee, our government relations subcommittee on the aviation committee, is just starting to work with the 2 new FBO operators and with airport staff, because this program has to emanate from them on a fly quiet program. I got some interesting information today. I'm probably going to go over my time, but the airline industry is working at 30% capacity from pre-COVID. They're just bleeding dollars, and it's going to take 2 or 3 years in order for them to recover. So purchasing new airplanes with quieter engines just isn't happening right now. In fact, they're looking at laying off staff. So I'm talking about in the future. We're working towards fly quiet programs where the emphasis will be to award and reward airlines for making attempts to fly quieter over our city.
All right. Yes, I think we can all really appreciate the day when there are silent airplanes flying above.
Yeah, that sounds like a science fiction movie. We obviously addressed public enemy number 1, noise. Let's talk about public enemy number 2. Can you guess what it is? That's right, it's traffic. How do we avoid traffic? Oftentimes we pay a toll. But what most people don't know, actually, our 73 toll road is supposed to be free for us all right now, but massive corruption in the TCA. That's another story for another day. Stay tuned to Good Morning Newport for a story on that one. Let's get back to the topic at hand. Let's talk about Newport Coast Drive. When Newport Coast Drive first opened, it diverted traffic from PCH and CBM to the 73 freeway. In an effort to direct traffic away from PCH, would you support using city funds to remove the toll from the 73 at the Newport Coast exit? So would you support removing the toll at the Newport Coast exit to divert traffic away from PCH? And let's start with you, Nancy, on this one.
I am not aware that that's been discussed, but it's a very interesting idea. It certainly wouldn't it wouldn't hurt. We have way too much traffic on PCH, and if we could move some of that to the toll road, or the other way around, not have the Newport Coast people not take the toll road because they don't want to pay the toll, so they come all the way down the Newport Boulevard and then take PCH or Jamboree or whatever the street is. So I think it's a very interesting concept. I'm not sure it's possible. I think that the toll road is already financially not very solvent. So I don't know how that would work, but great idea. Maybe, yeah.
Okay, Brad, what do you have to say?
Well, I'd have to see the data on that. That's something that really needs to be looked at in terms of, if we subsidize that, what would really, how much do you need to do to drive people, up to the toll road? And so I'm generally on a no side of that. And I'll tell you why. It's just, being on council, you realize, it is a zero-sum game in terms of the budget. And, we're a $230 million budget before COVID hit, and then we became a $199 million budget this year. And so a lot of infrastructure projects were put aside for that, which we can do without causing much pain for anybody. But going forward, it's anybody's guess as to when COVID is going to disappear, quote unquote, or at least where we can get our businesses back up and running and get the TOT income and the rest of the income that our robust economy delivers to us. So I feel that I'm a no for that reason. And just in general, I just think the city shouldn't be supporting a toll road. The toll road should stand on its own. And of course, that's the way it was represented to everybody. But I know there might be a few people that go through to avoid the toll, but I for some reason, intuitively, I just don't think it's that many that would make a difference. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Brad. And let's go over to Jeff Herdman.
You know, right now I'm a no on that, but I could become a yes. And there are two things that would need to happen in order for me to become a yes. First of all, it's taxpayer dollars that you're talking about. So I'd have to have considerable community input on this to know whether or not the community would support such a move or such an expenditure. The other thing I'd have to know about is what kind of money are we talking about in order to support this. Conceptually, it's a great idea. However, you know, I'm just sitting here thinking about, in order to avoid the traffic through Corona Del Mar, would I really take that long drive all the way up Newport Coast to the 73, get on the 73, head north, get off wherever I need to get off in order to go home? I don't think I'd do that.
It doesn't make much sense for Balboa Island.
Well, it doesn't make much sense for a lot of areas of our city, unless you live in Santa Ana Heights or you live up by the 73. They're probably doing it anyways already. So, all right.
Okay, let's go to Noah. What are your thoughts on this concept?
What a concept, to drive business away from our business district. I'm going to say no. I don't like spending taxpayer dollars on anything. What I really like, though, is driving business to our businesses. And avoiding all of Corona Del Mar seems like we will suffocate the businesses of Corona Del Mar. So I think it's a lose-lose on either side. Well, I like utopian policy in movies. I don't like them in real life. I think the idea here is that CDM is beautiful. More people create more traffic. But that's not necessarily beneficial to everyone. It certainly slows it down. And we know a lot of back roads throughout our city. We're really good at those. So let's keep running those for the citizens, and let's keep the businesses running. Now is the time more than ever. Let's not detract from what we need. Let's bring it back. Let's keep it home. Let's get these businesses thriving so we have the ability to succeed. Now is not the time to deter. Now is the time to bring forth.
Awesome. I appreciate the thoughtful answers from everybody on this concept. I think everybody represented themselves well. So thank you guys for thinking that one through.
Yeah, so I think we actually forgotten who Newport Beach's real public enemy is. And it's pretty obvious in hindsight. It's Gavin Newsom. He's at it again. He's making us build more houses to accommodate the housing crisis. That son of a biznatch. He wants us to build 4,834 dwelling units in the city. Can you believe that? How are we going to do that? Our question for you tonight, where would you rezone land uses to accommodate this housing demand? Let's go with you, Noah.
All right, I was ready for this. There's really only one region, and that's the airport. We've all adapted to it. Most people don't even go to that area. If we have to build, let's build up next to where the planes fly anyway. It's, I think, public enemy number 2 currently. Airplanes and building too many houses. The irony is that Newport can't do it. So fighting is always my number 1. I like to fight. I like to get excited. I like to really rebel rouse, you know, as my grandfather would love to say. The idea is that if we're not fighting for the town we believe in, if we're not pushing back against ridiculous mandates, especially from Sacramento right now, where no one has any idea what's coming down the pipeline next week, the week following, now is the time to stand up as a city and say no. Other cities will follow. They'll be happy to follow. We'll do the best we can. But unfortunately, property values on beach cities don't give us the ability to build 5,000 new residents. It's just not possible. So here we are looking at best case scenario, worst case scenario. In the end of the day, our job is still to fight. It's to fight against Sacramento for the town and city we believe in. And that's why I'm here.
All right, well said. Jeff, I'm curious on your comments.
Okay. I want to remind people that 4 years ago, I helped to lead the opposition of rescinding the approval of the museum house. And I'm right there with them again on this issue. Opposition to these almost impossible numbers that we are being asked to plan for and zone for. Our council basically has taken a three-pronged approach, one of them being to appeal our numbers, which we have until October 26th to do. At our October 13th meeting of the council, we have an agenda item, which is this letter of appeal. So we will be completing that first step, which is to appeal our numbers. The second approach is through legislation. The third approach is to try and find a way to comply. And we've got an excellent committee in our city that's being chaired by Larry Tucker. And they're trying to tackle this as best as they can. You know, the bottom line here, though, to me, maybe this view isn't shared by everyone, but not everyone can live in the city of Newport Beach. We've all worked very hard to live here and to earn the privilege of being able to live here. So I think we have to keep that in mind too, as far as this appeal is concerned and trying to comply with this mandate.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Let's go over to Nancy.
So real simple math, 4,800 housing units, half of those are low or very low income. And for a developer to be able to build low and very low income, they can only do it at 5 or 10%, maybe 20% of their total project. So in order to do that, they are going to be building 20, 30, 40,000 units to make 4,800 low and, well, 2,400 low and very low income units. So it's just, it isn't possible. We've tried the legislative approach. There was a bill written, the city helped write it. Cuddy Petrie Norris authored it. It's buried in Scott Wiener's committee. It's not coming out because they're recessed. It's going to start all over. So that process has not panned out. As far as appealing it, if we are allowed to have a smaller number, some other city in this area is going to have to take that number. I don't see how that's going to happen. If we don't have it, they're going to give it to Costa Mesa. They've already got 11,000. So they're not going to, you know, they're not going to take half of ours. So this is just an impossible situation. We need to be pushing back. We need to be pushing back hard. We need to be doing it with other cities. We're not the only ones that are having this problem. We don't have the infrastructure. We're not going to have the infrastructure anytime soon. We don't have enough water. We don't have schools. We're already having a problem with traffic. This cannot happen. We need to be loud, and we need to be in their face with this.
All right, this topic really fires you guys up. Brad, let's end with you.
Well, I think they've all been great answers, and I won't repeat them, but obviously we're already doing some housing up by the airport. Not nearly enough, of course, in the ratio for low-income housing, but that started. And then West Newport is another place we all know, like Costa Mesa across from Trader Joe's, that kind of housing. It's not pretty, but there's a lot of apartments in there, or condos, and so I see the whole west side gradually filling with that kind of housing. And that doesn't speak to the streets, to the circulation, so that needs to be figured out. So these are all really difficult solutions that we're kind of thinking about. But ultimately, I tend to think that we're not going to have to do that many houses. I think it's going to get negotiated. The market's going to speak. We have to zone for it, certainly, and you know, we will. But the market is just not going to support it. And so then what? You know, if builders won't build, what then? And there's a lot of water to pass under the bridge with starting with the appeal and the legislature and all the rest of that. And yeah, it's basically everyone agrees we need to fight like hell and be creative. And we've got some really smart people looking at this. So I'm kind of optimistic. I don't think it's all doom and gloom. We've already got this kind of housing going on right now with the Great Park in Irvine. That Great Park, quote unquote, is turning into probably quite a bit more housing units than what we're talking about. And we're going to be impacted by that, right? Those folks are going to come down here. To Noah's point, they're going to, you know, they're going to enjoy the businesses in our town, but it's also just going to add to the traffic and our parking issues and the rest of it. Thank you.
All right, some great perspectives. Thank you all.
Yeah, thank you all for the impassioned answers. All right, let's talk about Corona Del Mar. In CDM, portions of the flower streets seem to be getting narrower while cars and people keep getting bigger. When people get too big here in Newport Beach, we use plastic surgery for that. But for the roads, well, we can't nip tuck the cars. What's your position on having one-way streets like on Balboa Island for the flower streets in CDM? I'll start with the Balboa Island contingent. Jeff, let's start with you.
Okay, well, one-way streets on the island have worked well for as long as I've been here, which has been 67 years. Interesting, this is a good question because Nancy and I had a long talk with Joy Brenner about this today. She's done, Councilwoman Joy Brenner, she and the Corona Del Mar Residents Association have done a great deal of work on this, a great deal of study. There was an online platform where a survey was conducted, and the support for one-way streets was overwhelming by the people that responded. The next steps, as far as Corona Del Mar is concerned, is that they are going to do a community survey. They also want to talk to City Council about the possibility of parking permits for residents. We'll have a hard time with that, I think, with the Coastal Commission, but it's certainly worth a try. I want to give Joy credit for this too, because she's spearheading this entire effort for the people of Corona Del Mar that express concern over the situation that this question is asking about.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Let's go down to you, Noah. What do you think about one-way streets on the flower streets in CDM?
But, you know, I'll always refer to the constituents on this, but I have two main issues with one-way streets. One is the flow of traffic directly back to PCH. And sometimes if any of you have ever been to 2nd Street in Long Beach, you realize that parking becomes a nightmare. You're constantly pushed back onto 2nd Street, trying to navigate your way through, and it almost becomes more traffic rather than less. The other issue I have with one-way streets, and it's different than on the island inherently has slower traffic, but one-way people drive faster on. They'll drive faster if they know there's no oncoming traffic turning against them. And it's hard for me because growing up in Newport, waving at people as you pull over in that little parking space and they pass you, well, I mean, maybe it's horrible, maybe it takes too much time, maybe it sucks, but that's okay. I like waving at those neighbors. I like saying, hey, I let you by. It's part of our community. It's part of who we are. Sometimes a little bit of courtesy for the sake of efficiency isn't always the game we're going for. And so I think sometimes we got to back it up and remember why we're here. We're here to embrace each other. We're not here just to create more efficiency. More efficiency sometimes does not prove to be more efficient for the people. It just proves to be more efficient for the government.
Noah advocating for patience. We appreciate that. Let's go over to Brad Avery. Brad, what do you think about one-way streets in the flower streets?
Well, you know, I've dealt in Newport Heights with somewhat similar issues, and I'm always amazed how people become traffic engineers very quickly, and including council members and everyone else. But we do have some actual traffic engineers in the city, and they need to be consulted with, obviously, on this. And I'm sure they tend to be pretty conservative, and that doesn't make everybody happy. But I think probably by and large, they have the right, they make the right decisions. But the decisions really rest with residents. And so I think the survey for the one-way streets of Corona Del Mar is a great idea, and I think Joy's doing a great job of trying to wrestle with this. I spoke with her too today. I thought I was the only one that spoke with her, but she told me that you know, when they first, it was about 50-50, but she has a hunch that it's leaning more toward one-way streets. So it'll be interesting how that turns out. But you know, one of the things I've learned on council is the first rule is to do no harm. And so, you know, you really got to look at things carefully and listen to people carefully. And it takes multiple meetings to get it done. And I think all of our council members know that because we learned the hard way. And but you could always go back, right? It's not the end of the world if you turn streets one way and then it's repaving and moving signs around and they go back the other direction. And so, it's sort of a low cost trial that you could do and see how that works. But I would certainly would, go with the residents if they get, especially if they get a super majority, if they get 2/3 in favor, I think that's a good thing to try at least. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Brad. And Nancy, we'll have you wrap this question up.
Well, if Joy were running for council, she'd be the most popular one here because, she definitely deserves kudos. She's trying really hard to manage this difficult problem, and she's got a really good handle on it. And I have to say she's figured it out. Not that she has a solution. This has to come back from the residents. We shouldn't be telling people in another part of town how they should be managing their traffic or anything else. I think it's really up to them, and I am looking forward to the results of that survey of the Corona Del Mar residents because it should be their decision. I'm sure there's a lot of conversation that needs to happen back and forth both ways. The traffic engineers need to be brought in so that there's some educational component to it. I think that one-way streets do speed up traffic, so there's concerns for any aspect of it, but it's really up to the residents.
Let's jump into the next question. Everyone's tired of dealing with COVID, and in Newport, we've had our own ways to rebel. From mask shaming to secret speakeasies at our local saloons, it's become quite clear that most Newporters don't like following state-mandated rules. It's also becoming clear that a second wave of COVID may be coming in the near future. If and when a second wave does come, what actions will you take to support and protect the community? Let's start with you, Noah.
Whew. Yes, threw that one right on me. I like it. All right. So I've always stood behind the platform of freedom, and freedom will continue to be the platform I stand behind. Americans are an amazing group. We have been the land of the free and the home of the brave for as long as I can remember. And so being the land of the safe and the home of the scared just doesn't seem to ring a bell. We get to make the choice to protect ourselves, to protect our children, to send them where we want, to go where we like, and to stay at home. That's the necessity for us. And I think that Newport has done a great job, not only for businesses to survive through this, because this hasn't been a system of entrepreneurship, but this has been a system of survival. And we've seen it from other cities where demise has been higher than survival. So a second wave, I believe humanity's who we are as a people, who Newport is, well, that speaks through in our commerce, in where we want to go, and who we want to be. And so our answer as elected officials isn't to sit here and preach from on high and to dictate rules to people sitting around us. It's to listen. It's to listen to what people want. And when we see them wanting to come out, wanting to send their kids to school, wanting to open playgrounds, then open them. Send them to school. Let's give these children a childhood. Let's give people the experience of life. And if fear is the necessity, then so be it. It's the necessity for you, not for everyone. And so where would I stand in it? I'd stand in the same place I always do. The freedom of choice in this country has been one of the greatest things we've ever asked for. And I would continue to embrace that wholeheartedly in every aspect that I stand for.
So to be clear, you would not want to regulate any safety measures and let people decide for themselves.
I think that's been my general policy in life, is that when we regulate something, it usually comes with a license. It usually comes with some other attribute. We don't regulate free will. We don't regulate free will. And so the free will to go outside, the free will to send our children to playgrounds, should I stop that because of the fear of a virus? No, I won't. And I would never.
I saw you shaking your head. What do you have to say about this?
Who? Me?
Oh, yeah, you, Jeff.
I wasn't shaking my head. Riley?
Oh, okay.
But I'll respond, sure. Where am I regarding a future outbreak? You know, throughout this pandemic and the state of emergency that the governor declared in this state, the city of Newport Beach has followed all state and county directives and orders that have come down in addition to those from the governor. At the very beginning of this state of emergency, the council took action in the form of passing a resolution to give our city manager and her team the authority to make decisions and to implement orders and actions that were coming from the Department of Health, both at the state level and at the county level. We as a city, I think Grace has done an excellent job of this with her team. We've not gotten out in front of any orders and been too punitive or too restrictive, I mean not punitive. And we've not lagged behind as a city either. We have made every attempt possible to protect our citizens from contacting this virus. And we'll continue to do so, no matter what the future holds for us as far as this COVID situation is concerned. My top priority is the well-being of the people that live in this city, and it will continue to be, not only when it comes to COVID, but when it comes to everything. Being on city council is an extremely serious responsibility and an extremely serious job. And these are absolutely unprecedented times. I had no idea I'd be dealing with something like this when I got elected to city council. None of us did. We look to the experts as far as how we're to proceed and protect our citizenry.
All right. Brad, you also were dealing with the first wave of COVID on council. What are you thinking about the second wave? What are you guys prepared to do?
Well, I never know what council's prepared to do. You know, we're a body, and it's interesting to see it when the body comes together and we get to a decision. I have my ideas, but I think this is going to be ongoing for the next couple of years. That's my mindset. And, you know, I don't see a huge wave. I probably see just multiple waves coming and going. And that's all about data. That's all about watching and talking with our great neighbors, Hoag Hospital. And it's all about what comes down from the state, right? We don't have a choice in a lot of it, right? The state pushes down, the county pushes down, and then we get it. We need to interpret it and implement it. And, you know, I think freedom of choice is great. We're all for freedom, but I think it does stop when that freedom threatens someone's health. And so we need to all come together. And if we're being threatened by this virus again in a major way, I hope the town comes together better than maybe it did before. I think we did a pretty good job, but it could be even better. And we're all more educated now. I think we're all humbled. And hopefully we come together if we're threatened and in a major way, and we do the right things. And ultimately, we're kind to each other, and we try to keep a lid on it. And we've done a great job. I mean, I just think it's phenomenal that we got through the protests and the closing and back, forth, and people were afraid and angry. And our public safety people did a tremendous job in this town, but we can't keep asking them to do it again and again. And we need to be partners in that by coming together and trying to work on this problem. Thank you.
Thanks, Brad. Nancy, anything to add?
Covered a lot of it. I don't think you can legislate our way out of this. We're being given directions from the state. And so we have to follow those instructions. There's not a lot of choice to that. I think people have been fairly courteous and considerate of other people. I think that needs to continue. We need to just stress patience and consideration. We're 15th city in the county right now, which is pretty good. We're doing better. We're a lot of cities in a lot worse place than we are. So it seems to me people are being smart about it, not overly cautious and not just out of control. So.
All right, thank you, Nancy.
Okay, let's go back to another Corona Del Mar specific question. Trying to find parking in CCM in the summer, a lot like trying to find a Democrat at any of our local yacht clubs. It's nearly impossible. Some CDM residents support a parking program that would require parking permits to park during certain hours in flower streets. What's your position on resident-only parking? And we'll just start right back up with you, Nancy. What's your position on resident-only parking in the flower streets?
I'm going to go right back to the residents about that. They're the ones who are going to have to deal with it. If we have too many cars, sometimes with COVID and everybody wanting to get out to the beach, I think the parking has been worse lately than normal. But and people aren't going to work; they're staying home, so there's less cars gone during the day. But this is a resident's decision. I would listen to them, and I hope that that survey, the way it's worded, will probably cover that.
Wait, and Brad?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. But we do need to remember that they're public streets, and we need a really compelling reason to deny access to public parking on public streets. And we do see it with around the high schools where we have time limits, and you know, we manage it in small ways around town. But this really is a community decision, and we need to be careful about the public's right to park on public streets.
I was not a fan of the high school parking regulations when I was in high school. I've got maybe like 5 to 6 tickets, so
Same.
hard pass for me.
Same here.
How are we supposed to park for 2 hours, run in our break, change the car? It was nuts.
Parking freedom. Okay, let's go over to you, Noah, a freedom advocate. What do you think about parking restrictions?
Wow, I like that I already got myself a name for this forum. The idea of regular parking, I think, is important. And I know that sounds craziness coming from me after the last couple responses, but we live where we live, and we like to live and to be able to park. Part of what I said of when I came home to Newport was the greatest part was that I can park. Living in New York and San Francisco, parking 30 blocks where you live or in a park, hoping your car doesn't get towed away, well, it's pretty exciting. And you're like, oh, maybe 3 hours, I'll get it. So when it comes to parking restrictions, I think that it's a two-part answer that we're looking for. We've forgotten over the last 5 years that ride-sharing services exist. Electric bikes have taken a stance that we have never seen before. I mean, we joke at our restaurant that we have 30 electric bikes there on any Saturday night, and there are hundreds of open parking spaces, which no one on the peninsula would ever be like, oh, that's normal. The idea is that, yes, there has to be a balance. Parking studies are expensive. We need to do one in Corona Del Mar to really understand what's happening there. The Coastal Commission wants to weigh in on everything we do. But in the end of the day, by suffocating a little bit of parking in the neighborhoods for the residents, only increases a better ideal of capitalism for the ride sharing, for the electric bikes, for those people getting somewhere else.
Noah, your time is up, so if you could just complete your thought.
It was so complete right there.
Okay, well, there we go. Perfect. Okay, and to wrap this question up, Jeff, what do you got?
You know, my response to this is just like my response to the one-way street question in Corona Del Mar. It really doesn't matter what my opinion is on this. There are decisions that a council member has to make that absolutely has to represent majority thought and majority opinion. If the majority of people in Corona Del Mar would like the council to pursue permit parking for them with the Coastal Commission, the majority, we have a responsibility to do so. It doesn't matter whether I agree with it or not agree with it. I got elected, I serve on city council in order to advocate for majority opinions. So that's probably not answering your question, but that's my position.
If the people will it.
If the people, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, well, that concludes our long answer questions. Let's give a round of applause for each of the candidates so far. Everybody at home, clap along. Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys. Varying topics. We appreciate your thoughtful responses.
All right, and we're approaching the end. The next up, we have our lightning round. Candidates will hold up a sign indicating yes or no to the question, and if we feel like it, we may ask for a follow-up to elaborate. Candidates, please get your signs ready, and don't cover your beautiful faces when you hold them up. First question, do you support regulating short-term lodging, limiting the minimum stay duration for visitors to the city? All right, yes. What will Brad do? He's thinking. Ah. All right, now fighting for freedom. I like it.
Okay. Do you support an enforcement measure? Oh, hold on one second here. Let me find my place. Do you support an enforcement measure to limit the amount of people on sidewalks, or excuse me, to limit bicycles on sidewalks, including our newest enemy, electric bikes? Do you support an enforcement measure to keep them off the sidewalks, yes or no?
Looks like we got a maybe from Jeff. And Brad, he's really thinking this through. I like that. And it's a yes. Okay. So we got 2 yeses, and no, and a maybe. Electric bikes seem to be maybe our next hot button issue for the next election. All right, next one. Would you uphold the 40-year-old city site plan ordinance, which protects public and private views across MacArthur Corridor, even if Newport Center is targeted for high-rise density housing because arena? Here's you have a question. All right. Are we
Wow.
Unanimous? We are.
I know. I like views. I live on that corner.
Love views in Newport. That's actually protecting, I'd say, over people's civil liberties, over our own rights. We gotta protect our views. Okay,
Protect the views at all costs.
that is the Newport motto.
My
Okay,
dad's persuasive. What can I say?
let's talk about another big issue here in the city. Would you support the creation of a traffic commission in Newport Beach? Thoughtful, Brad. Okay.
Yes. No. How come? A quick answer. Why no?
Because I think commissions are a really great idea. It's a bunch of people sitting around a group that make decisions for the residents of the city. Let's take a poll, let's see what the residents want, and let's make a real answer from the council to get things done. Some of its commissions are a waste of time.
Right, you're really going for changing things up because a lot of the city decisions are coming from commissions right now.
They are. We're in a
All right.
beautiful-
The meeting that could have been an email, I guess, is what Noah's saying in the commission realm.
All right. Do you support Measure Z, adding the Harbor Commission to the city charter on the November ballot? That's a unanimous. Oh,
Mine's a
oh,
maybe. Mine's not, I can't find my thing here.
it sounds like it's a maybe for you, Nancy. How come?
I agree with the concept. I don't agree with the way it is, the measure is written right now. There are inconsistencies between the responsibilities of the Harbor Commission and the Parks, Beaches, and Recreation Commission. So I think it needs more work. It was done hastily and needs more work.
All right. I think a lot of citizens have said the same thing that I've heard.
Well, we'll be excited for that.
The debate coming up
The
right
debate
after
between
this.
Jim and Will after this. All right, this should be a fun one. CDM Christmas Walk Beer Garden. Fan or not?
Wait, ban or not?
Fan. Are you a fan?
I
Are
don't
you
want
a
to
fan?
ban it. That's a no.
Get rid
Like
of it.
Christmas walk?
I didn't understand the question. What-
Are you a fan? Are you a supporter of a beer garden at the CDM Christmas Walk?
yeah, but I'm a non-drinker, so you know.
Supporter? Yeah, I'm a supporter of the beer garden.
Okay, yeah.
I love Christmas walk.
Unanimous yes.
I was like, okay.
I've actually never been, but I've seen
Oh, it's
Instagram
great.
videos. It gets pretty lit.
Yeah.
All right, next question. Do you think there should be changes to the city's campaign financing laws?
Absolutely.
Got a quick yes from Nancy and Jeff, a no from Noah, and Brad. He always keeps us hanging.
Oh,
No,
okay.
a 50-50. I'm curious, Brad, why no?
Well, we looked at it. We did make some changes. I think it needs to be monitored. We see how it goes. We'll review it after this election for sure. And if there's problems, we can have a robust discussion about that. I'm not a hard no. I'm a no so far.
And Nancy, you had a quick yes. What do you want to see?
I think I went to the election reform meetings. There were only 2 that were public. There was a committee. And I think that they didn't go far enough. There were a lot of suggestions and a lot of discussion. And in the end, most of the suggestions were just brushed aside. So I think they didn't go far enough.
Okay, let's talk about a long-term issue facing the city. Is enough being done to address sea level rise? Yes or no?
Oh,
Quick no from Noah.
Only one up here.
Maybe from Jeff. And Brad's always holding out.
I'm going to have to be honest. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
But
Brad?
But it's no one's fault. Okay? It's absolutely no one's fault.
Oh, Brad's a yes. Enough is being done. I want to ask Noah first. You were the first one up with a no. We're talking about is enough being done to address sea level rise. Why the quick no?
Because sea level rise is a real problem. I mean, I know this is going to be striking to the 2 of you over there thinking, wow, Noah took somewhat of a leftist view on this, but
shock me, Noah.
Are you saying global warming?
Look, I've said it before. I'm a libertarian. I believe in the reality of this world. Mom always said, "Stay out of my bedroom and my bank account," and that's pretty much been my rule for as long as I've lived. I do see it, and I want to protect our community more than anything in this world. So let's protect it now rather than when it's too late. And if we have to strive for a little more infrastructure project, well, that's what I believe city's for, infrastructure. I don't believe it's for mandates. I don't believe it's for governance in the overreaching aspect. I believe it's for infrastructure. And so let's keep the infrastructure booming.
And Jeff, what informs your response on this one?
Oh gosh, we've been talking about this for so long, all the way back to the original Tidelines Management Committee. I know the Harbor Commission is dealing with it. There are a myriad of outstanding ideas out there, capital improvement projects. The cost is what's prohibitive right now in terms of our city being able to address these issues. The ideas are there. There's plenty of solutions out there. It's just being able to find the resources to be able to afford them.
Can I add something?
Yes. Yeah, Brad, you were the one that you probably spend the most time on the water as well. So what's your thoughts, Brad?
Well, we have been doing some things. Obviously, the cap around Balboa Island.
Yes. Yeah.
We've got an active berm, project going on all the time. We watch the weather carefully. We've got our guys going into the city and closing storm drains, and so there's a lot of work that goes on. But I think so. My yes is a yes for now. But I think we don't want to overshoot this, and the answer is pouring a lot of concrete, frankly, and so one way or another. And so I just think we should monitor it. I don't think a great big piece of ice is going to break off and all of a sudden tomorrow that water, we're going to be 2 feet higher on sea level rise. We need to monitor it, watch it, and talk about it. It's an important subject. And ultimately, yes, we will have to do something. The question is now, I think we did a good job on Balboa Island of just going up the minimum to really protect overflows, if you will. We could have gone up a couple of feet and that would have really changed the nature of things. So we can do these projects pretty quickly and if necessary, obviously find the money to get it done. But I don't think now is the time to be doing it.
Can I add just one thing very quickly? A couple of weeks ago, Steve Rosansky, our Chamber of Commerce president, myself, and Dave Webb, our Director of Public Works, had a meeting on the beach with Harley Ruda. There were 2 members of the Coastal Commission there, and we had a very interesting discussion about sea level rise. Harley wanted to get a visual on what actually happened in Newport Beach when we had that tide surge and the berms that Brad is referencing. We're trying to make Sacramento very much aware of our needs here in the city. So I appreciated that opportunity to meet with him.
All right, thanks, Jeff. Nancy,
Can
do
I,
you want to add?
Ryan, everybody else has said something.
I
Can
know, we
have
don't
a
want you to
turn?
be
I
left
want a
out.
shot
We don't
at
want
it.
you to-
I think I am a firm believer in planning. I think we need to be talking about this. That's why I said more. We need to do more. We can't just wait for things to happen and react. So building codes are changing. Technology is changing every day. Things are becoming available. I think we need to be proactive in talking and discovering what our options are, and we shouldn't be just sitting waiting for something to happen.
All right, thank you guys all. It sounds like you all have interesting perspectives there. Let's bring it up. We got 2 more questions left. Would you support adding a sustainability element to the general plan?
Who's going for? Oh, we're doing that.
It's the
All
battle
right,
time.
wow. Surprised by some of the answers.
We're
You
required.
were very quick on that.
We're required to, Riley. So
Well, that's good. That's good.
Hey.
Trick question. Trick question, and you
You all
passed.
passed.
Okay, last question here of the yes nos. Do you support using city funds to build a permanent junior guards building? Yes or no?
Ooh. Oh!
And an
All right.
okay.
Can we-
I had a
so,
sign
yeah.
malfunction.
no, yes, no.
Oh,
So wait, Jeff, what's your final, as Regis Philbin would say, final answer?
Yeah, it's a perfect opportunity for a
Yes.
public-private partnership, which already exists. Perfect example of a public-private partnership. We don't need to use taxpayer dollars entirely to build that facility.
What I understand, it sounds like if the city's willing to invest in it, then a lot of other donors would come forward.
Exactly.
Yep.
So you guys would all support putting some money as council members, putting some tax dollars into that facility.
Yes.
Yes.
All
Okay.
right.
That concludes our lightning round. Let's give it up to the candidates one more time. Okay.
Good job, you guys. That was fun.
Okay.
And now for the final segment. Each candidate will be given 1 minute to answer one last question. Are you ready? Why should we, citizens of Newport Beach, vote for you to be on city council? Let's start with you, Jeff.
I want to, first of all, I consider it an absolute honor to have been elected and to have the privilege of serving on city council. I enjoy just about every single minute of it. I want to continue to lead the effort in having a positive impact on quality of life issues as it relates to John Wayne Airport. I want to continue to provide leadership on the Tidelands Water Quality Committee and see some of the projects that we have in our master plan through to completion, one of them being the trash wheel project that we've worked so hard on. Stability, institutional knowledge, contributing thoughtful solutions to businesses and tourism recovery in these unprecedented times is also something that I want to be involved in. And I want to continue to be the voice of reason, exercise transparency, keep the people that I represent really well informed on all issues that have a direct effect on them. These are the main reasons I want to continue working for the people of Newport Beach on city council. I have the time. It's a full-time job. It's a 7-day-a-week full-time job. I have the time, the energy, and the level of commitment to continue serving as a city council member. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Noah, let's hear from you.
Well, let's get excited about this one. So why? Why should you vote for me? Well, that's really the question. Why would I run in all of this? I love my life. I love my wife. I love our businesses. I love everything about my city that I live in. Everything is going great. Why throw yourself into this utter mayhem that is politics? That's the question. And the answer is this, is that I see a void in the city. I see something where people aren't looking at what the future holds for us and how we strive to get to that next rung. How we push forward to get through what we're in, not how to mitigate a crisis, not how to adjust what's happened, not how to deal with our previous committees or current goals. It's about rebuilding a city in the midst of crisis. And Newport has this economic foundation that needs to be tapped so that it can help other cities grow, so that Orange County as a whole grows, so that we are the bastion of light that exists within our county. We are. We're this idyllic place that no one can touch. And in that, I want to represent it. I want to help the small business owners that have called out to me directly and asked, how do we get to the next point? What's the purpose of what we're doing? What's the city think about this, that, or the other? And I feel like that guidance has been tough. We want to look forward to what it is we can accomplish. We're not looking back. Back is great. We've done a good job, and I commend everyone on council for getting us here. But energy, entrepreneurship, drive, those things are great words, but to truly find them, to truly push forward with them, it takes something that's robust. And I'm a fighter. I always have been. You take me down, I get back up. And this is why you should vote for me. Thanks.
All right, let's go to Brad Avery.
Thanks. You know, we've been through a rough patch with COVID, and we've come through pretty well. But I am really looking forward to working with the city over the next 4 years for what will be at some point a recovery. I think we might have some more tough times ahead, but I know we'll handle that. But I'm determined to work to basically protect the quality of life in Newport Beach and to improve it. That's what I think we hear residents talking about. That's what that question was about on noise, from all those different noise generating activities. What do we do about that? It certainly impacts me. It impacts every one of us. So I am on board with that. And I want to I'd like to, at the end of 4 years, look back and think that we made a difference on the quality of life in Newport Beach, especially the recovering from COVID, and on the noise issues, and on the growth to the future. So that's a really important part of it. We do need to grow, but we've got to grow carefully. We can't change things all at once. It's got to be incremental change, because we've already got an incredible city like nowhere else. It's fantastic. So it's ours to screw up. We need to manage it carefully. We've got a great council now. And I think if we're looking at some uncertain times, I want to be there to help guide us through that with the rest of the council. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Brad. And Nancy, we'll end on you. Why should we elect you to city council?
I'm running because I grew tired of hearing that I just have to get used to it. Some of the things that are being passed down that we have to deal with, the state mandates, some of the other things. It's as if we're being told we just have to give up, throw our hands up and say, okay, do whatever you want, build houses everywhere. And I don't give up that easily. The world's changing, that's clear, and we need to embrace that change and make a plan for it. I'm a planner by profession, and I'm well suited for that. If we're going to be heading for those big changes, I want to be part of that process. I want to be part of the plan. I don't want to sit on the sidelines and watch things just take their course. As the next council person for District 2, I would be involved, informed, and independent. I would ask that you would all be involved and vote in this election. I would ask that when you vote, you would make informed choices. And I hope that you vote for people whose decisions will be independent. I would be honored if you would vote for me in this election. And you can learn more at my website, nancyfornewport.com. Thank you.
All right, let's give a round of applause for all of our 2020 Newport Beach City Council candidates. Everybody at home clapping in your living rooms or wherever you are. Thank you. Now, don't log off just yet. We're about to have our grand finale. But first, please welcome back Mayor Will O'Neill, or welcome for the first time Mayor Will O'Neill to the forum. Will, you have the floor.
Fantastic. So let me first say thank you to our Corona Del Mar Residents Association and to you both for hosting. It's certainly been different. And it's been one where I genuinely wish I had the ability to answer some of those questions, just throwing that out there. But to Measure Z specifically, our charter is essentially the one thing city councils cannot change on their own. Our charter requires the existence of our Arts Commission, our Parks, Beach, and Rec Commission, our Planning Commission, our Civil Services Board, and our Board of Library Trustees. These are groups of citizens willing to give of their time and take criticism from their fellow community members when they make those recommendations that are required of them. The idea that a council would simply dissolve the Harbor Commission on a whim, when it couldn't do the same to the Arts Commission or the Parks, Beach, and Rec Commission seems ludicrous. The Harbor supports 1,100 businesses employing 9,200 workers. It generates $391 million in economic activity for the city. And yeah, I've seen Mr. Mosier's, and I've heard Nancy's criticism of the measure tonight. They're the same criticisms raised when council was considering placing this item on the ballot. There's nothing wrong with having some occasional overlap between commissions. It happens now, and it's not a problem. And to the point about criticizing this as being hasty, it's a funny thing. No better language was actually proposed to the council before we voted. And it's been months, and no one opposed to this measure has written down how they would actually have done it. So it should come as no surprise then that the city council voted unanimously. All 7 of us voted unanimously to approve this measure and asked the voters to approve this charter amendment. So I'm going to, as a proponent of this, I'm going to simply ask that our residents vote yes on Measure Z.
Okay, thank you, Will.
All right, please welcome to the debate our favorite public commenter, Jim Mosher. Welcome, Jim.
Hi.
Hi, you got us there, Jim?
Just barely through the grace of the internet. It says unstable connection, but I'm ready to try.
Okay.
It's important to remember that we're not voting on the Harbor Commission. We're voting on Measure Y. So I urge all voters to read the arguments for and against Measure Z in your sample ballot and in the CDMRA newsletter. It's equally important to know, despite what you just heard, that the council placed the text of Measure Z on the ballot using what is called the consent calendar, with no notice to the public that they were voting on something related to the Harbor Commission, and without the slightest comment, explanation, or review. Laws introduced for adoption without discussion and without the many adjustments, large and small, that discussion stimulates tend to be bad laws, and this is no exception. Not only is Measure Z a measure much in need of adjustment, it is totally unnecessary. Our harbor may be a jewel, Measure Z is not. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Now, Will will get 1 minute to respond, and then Jim will get 1 minute to follow up on that. And this should be particularly fun. Will typically gets the last word at city council meetings and is usually the one telling Jim when his time is up. So this will be a little bit of a fun role reversal here at the CDMRA forum here tonight. But Will, you have the floor again for your minute response.
Well, I just recommend people actually read the language. It's going to take less time for you to do that than actually listen to the arguments that you've just heard. It's not complicated. The Harbor Commission will act as an advisory body to the City Council on issues like harbor improvements and use of the harbor, regulation of vessels in the harbor, help set the goals of the general plan element addressing the harbor, and serve as an approval body or appellate body when city councils give them that authority in the municipal code. It's not complicated. Seriously, just read it and then compare it to the charter provision established in the Arts Commission or Parks, Beach, and Rec Commission. And again, I just challenged Mr. Mosier and anyone opposing this, give me better language. And he's wrong. We did provide notice. That's the whole point of a city council meeting. And it's been months now since then. I still haven't heard any better language. And by the way, Alex, I just want to say real quick, this is the only one I'm going to push back on, but you earlier had a question about TCA. I'm on the board for TCA and have been for the last couple of years. I don't understand the point about it should be free at Newport Coast Drive. We've got really complicated bond covenants that go back decades that would not allow Newport Coast Drive to be free. I'm confident you'll do a great job talking about TCA. I would just remind you, there are two boards. We sit on one. It's the San Joaquin board. All the news that gets made about the TCA, it's the South County board that's dealing with Foothill Eastern. It's the 241 interchange. And just real quick, the TCA is not insolvent. I'm not sure where that comment came from. It's just not true. And I would encourage folks to look at our budgets and bond covenants if you're even wondering about that. So I need to at least push back on that, because there was a lot built into that question. I don't want people to assume that that everything in there was accurate.
Well, when we got notice of the TCA corruption, we saw the budget, and there's a lot of golf trips that were being expensed. We'll just say that. All right, Jim, you've got the floor for a 1-minute reply. Let's keep it to Measure Z. That's what we're here to debate. Jim, you got the final word.
Yes. Yeah, I think the question most people will ask is, even if Measure Z is poorly written, which it is, and unnecessary what it is, what's the harm in voting yes? The harm is that it puts off the larger reckoning that we, the people, need to have with the dysfunctional boards and commissions already in our city charter. What we really need is a complete public revisiting of the entire article about boards and commissions, so that it will truly articulate the people's vision of an advisory apparatus adequate to keep our council well informed by its people on all issues, not just the harbor, but the airport, traffic, environment, finance, technology, employer relations, and whatever. Measure Z does nothing at all to advance our charter towards that needed new vision. It is political grandstanding that attacks just one tiny aspect of a much larger problem, and it does it poorly. Vote no. Thank you.
All right. And that, ladies and gentlemen, concludes our 2020 debate forum. Thank you all for tuning in. We'll be posting clips from this forum on our Instagram at Good Morning Newport. So get the word out to your friends so everyone this election can be informed at the local level.
And as always, thank you to the CDMRA, O'Reilly Hayes, all our viewers, all our participants. This is Alex Crawford saying from the back bay of the wedge, Newport Coast to the River Jetties. Good morning, Newport.
Great job, gentlemen.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you guys. That was a ton of fun.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
That's a wrap. Thank you and best luck.
Fireworks from Paul. All right.
Hey.
Paul's been waiting all show for that.
Best of luck to our candidates, Nancy, Brad, Jeff, Noah, and Will. Thank you for sharing your ideas and your visions. If this year has taught us anything, it's that the job of a council person is not easy, and we appreciate your willingness to serve. Also, thank you to Jim Mosier for your insights on Measure Z. Alex and Riley, you guys knocked it out of the park. Thank you for being great moderators. You made this so much fun and much more of an adventure than we could have. They are planning on doing some more interviews with some of the candidates, so look for those on their website at goodmorningnewport.org. The people behind the scenes that have helped this forum, but there's no one that helped us more than Paul Blank. Thank you for being our technical guru. You know we could not have done this without you, and we so appreciate your help. Other board members for assisting in other parts of the forum, developing questions, interviews, videos, etc. Karen Tringali, Sandy Haskell, Laura Curran, Glenn Highland, Dennis Baker, Paul Bartolo, Nancy Gardner, and there are very many more. Thank you all. If you're not a member, we have a special membership offer on our website and invite you to visit cdmra.org. For $20 a year, we think we are the best bang for your buck in Corona Del Mar you can get. The video of this forum will also be posted on our website at cdmra.org. The candidates have spoken. Now, most importantly, it's your turn to vote. Voting is a right in this country, but a privilege that many in the world do not have. Your vote does matter, especially in local elections. Remember our last election, and one council member won by 32 votes. So it is important. Please exercise your right. Thank you for participating and for watching, and we look forward to seeing you all soon. Good night.